Hello everyone, and welcome to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Settle in, because tonight's video unpacks a wave of New Year's buzz that refuses to die down. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe and share so you don't miss a single twist. Now, let's talk about what lit up the timeline the moment the countdown ended. Actress Neslihan Atagül, who for years has kept her private moments discreet and rarely lets the spotlight follow her home, posted a New Year's Eve photo that flipped the conversation across fan circles and gossip pages. The image was festive yet controlled, warm lights, a classic look, and an unmistakable calm in her eyes. The caption was measured, the smile unforced. In that one still, people claimed they saw the start of something new. A posture that said the past was neatly boxed away, the door gently latched, and a fresh hallway opening ahead. The minute the photo landed, attention swiveled to actor Burak. Without either name appearing in the same sentence, timelines still threaded them together, as if the image were a silent pivot in their shared narrative as a duo so many viewers had paired in their imaginations. Whispers arrived fast. A hard break in their rapport, a reset in whatever rhythm had kept their names orbiting each other in conversation. Some said it was about boundaries, others whispered it was about closure. Whatever the angle, the reaction was instant. Neslihan's New Year's post drew thousands of likes within minutes, then comments multiplied into a tide. People didn't just admire the styling, they studied the framing, the room's tone, the exact wording of the caption, the way her hands folded. That energy was read as composure, as certainty, as a decision fully lived in. On social media, one interpretation dominated: she had turned a page. Even those who resisted reading between the lines admitted there was a deliberate steadiness in the way the image was shared. Gossip columnists wasted no time. They argued that this was not just a celebratory pose but a statement designed to put to bed the months of unasked and unanswered questions. They framed it as the end of the long hush, a curtain pulled back not with noise but with restraint. And because the stage felt intriguingly quiet on the other side, Burak's silence began to matter in a way that words might not. The phrase "silence is also an answer" floated from comment to comment like a headline. Fans of the pair split into camps. One group insisted that this was simply a woman enjoying a holiday evening, sharing a radiant moment with the people who have supported her for years. Another group believed this was carefully timed to land on a night already weighed with symbolism, a subtle clearance of the year behind her and a signal that the terms of any future conversation had just changed. Opinions flooded gossip pages, framed as whether the timing was coincidence or message. More than one magazine labeled it the clearest sign yet, clearer than any interview, cleaner than any rumor denied or confirmed. Those who follow Neslihan closely know her to be firm about privacy. She has hinted in past interviews that she doesn't owe anyone the play-by-play of what happens beyond work, and that boundary setting is a principle rather than a temporary stance. But this time, there was no interview. Just a picture, a measured sentence, and a presence so composed that it felt like a manifesto without a single heavy word. The effect was stronger than a press conference. The image said what it needed to say without bargaining. Meanwhile, Burak held his ground in quiet. No quick story, no cryptic caption, no sudden live session rolling at midnight to compete for attention. That absence widened speculation. Would he speak? Would he address the chatter, or let the wave crest and fall on its own? In the hours and days that followed, the entertainment world refreshed his pages on repeat, waiting for an echo that didn't come. And yet, the conversation only grew larger. Editors rearranged their weekend layouts. Headlines angled toward what the image might symbolize. Could a single post reset the tone of a months-long conversation? The answer, at least for now, seemed to be yes. From living rooms to comment sections, the photo was the post everyone kept revisiting, measuring their feelings against its calm. Right after that first post, Neslihan shared more glimpses that carried the same signature: more energy, more color, an assertive hug of the year ahead. The shift wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. Her followers applauded the vibe, praising the way she stepped into January solo yet steady, looking like someone who had chosen peace and was prepared to guard it. The supportive notes stacked up. Alongside the congratulations, there was a chorus of "you go" messages that felt less like ordinary praise and more like a collective nod of understanding. As the applause rolled on, a fresh rumor began circling: Neslihan was focusing hard on her work. Industry whispers claimed she was deep in talks for new projects, her calendar poised to fill. Not a retreat, but a recalibration. The gossip said she'd set aside any off-camera expectations tied to her name and chose to move forward on her own terms. In certain circles, the decision was described, rightly or wrongly, as unexpected from Burak's side. That word, unexpected, pinged across feeds and was repeated until it gathered its own momentum. No direct statement came from him. If those around him felt surprised, none of them said so publicly. And because silence remained the reigning choice, speculation had room to snowball. Some people concluded that the duo, as many had imagined them, was done, at least for now. Others argued it wasn't about an ending, but about rearranged priorities and clearer boundaries. In the absence of commentary, the narrative belonged to the loudest ideas. Close to Neslihan, the whispers sharpened. The photo, sources suggested, wasn't a casual holiday drop, it was closure folded into a festive night. A farewell without farewell words. A symbolic seal on a chapter that had stayed open too long. If true, it was a message designed to be both quiet and undeniable, the kind of communication that resonates exactly because it doesn't beg to be heard. So attention snapped back to her, and the anticipation turned into a vigil of sorts. Would she elaborate in an interview? Would a new post clarify the hidden line that everyone sensed? Maybe. Maybe not. What could be said with confidence was simpler. One image had shifted the ground beneath a conversation that had seemed stuck, and that shift kept rippling outward. Her firm calm was called the strongest response possible by fans and pundits alike. Not because it clapped back, but because it declined to perform. No direct answers, no point-by-point rebuttals, just a steady pivot toward what looked like a set of new goals. It inspired more than gossip, it inspired imitation. Feeds filled with resolutions about choosing peace, choosing focus, choosing to speak softly and move decisively. On Burak's side of the story, uncertainty continued. Then came the tidbit reputedly from someone close: he was caught off guard by the intensity of the reaction to her post. If he expected a wave, he hadn't expected a storm. Faced with the swell, he stayed quiet rather than stoke it. That decision, in the court of opinion, was interpreted as everything from dignity to defeat, from patience to distance. In several gossip spaces, silence was labeled the sharpest cut of all, the kind that leaves no wound to bandage, and therefore no scene to play. What followed was inevitable. The spotlight shifted from curiosity about private dynamics to admiration for a personal reset. Suddenly, the story wasn't a breakup narrative, because nothing confirmed a romance to break. It looked more like a self-portrait, an artist reclaiming her page. People began to talk less about ties and more about thresholds, less about couples and more about individuals charting their routes across a new year. The rumor mill kept spinning, a new chapter for Neslihan's career, clearer routes through her life beyond the camera, a willingness to let work do the talking. And as those ideas baked into the weekly cycle, that first New Year's image kept being pulled up, contextualized, reframed. The smallest updates from her account grew into events, weighed against the tone of the picture that started it all. The commentary didn't fade, it matured, storing itself like a thread everyone could return to for a pulse check. Meanwhile, the industry's quiet gestures began to show. Likes from colleagues, brief comments from friends, subtle endorsements that said, in essence, "We see you." Those signals painted a network around her, a reminder that even when someone chooses solitude to reset, they are rarely alone. Observers called it a strong team, a kind of invisible scaffolding that lets a person stand taller without making a spectacle of it. Reports suggested the first days of the year were calm for her. No public appearances, few distractions, just the routine of someone deliberately refilling the tank. To some, that looked like distance. To others, it looked like discipline, the sort that refuses to chase headlines because the work ahead promises its own spotlight. Recovery and renewal became the keywords at the footnotes of posts, a quiet mantra threaded through a very loud conversation. And so we circle back to where we started. One photo, a measured caption, and the collective decision by thousands to read the language of posture and timing. Whether this moment was crafted or simply captured, its resonance is undeniable. It reset expectations. It demanded that anyone who wanted clarity would have to sit with nuance instead of grabbing at noise. As for Burak, the story remains open, but more in a professional sense than the personal fables that fandoms like to write. If he speaks, the tone of this entire chapter could shift again. If he doesn't, the silence will likely settle into part of the narrative, a choice that says as much as statements often do. Either way, the speculation about their next moves will continue to feed the entertainment machine, because curiosity clings to questions that refuse easy answers. For now, the present tense truth is modest. A single New Year's post caught everyone's eye and refused to let go. It moved the center of gravity from rumor to resolve. It let a performer be the author of her own frame, and asked the rest of us to read with care. Whatever comes next, new roles, new announcements, new images, will stretch across the outline that moment drew. We're watching the story rather than a scandal, the evolution of two careers that happen to share a history in the public imagination. If you strip away the noise, you're left with the arc of a woman choosing purpose, and a man deciding whether to speak or let time talk. Perhaps that's why the post still trends, because people recognize themselves in the quiet bravery of setting a course and following it, even when everyone is watching, and especially when everyone has an opinion. We'll keep following every turn with care and context here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe and share. Until next time, this is Turkish Spotlight Secrets, and we'll be right here when the next chapter drops.